3, 2, 1. Hi, everybody. My name is Timothy Gager, and this is Virtual Friday Dyer Literary Series. And tonight, my feature is the wonderful Rebecca Fishow. And she'll be doing, we're here in Massachusetts, she'll be in Maryland, and that's the beautiful thing about Virtual Dyer. And let me tell you a little bit about Rebecca. And there she is. So Rebecca is a prose writer, creative writing instructor, visual artist. Her first book, the short story collection, The Trouble with Language, is, I believe it's not out already. It'll be out in the next couple of days. It won the 2019 Holland Prize for fiction, and she had a fiction chapbook, The Opposite of Entropy. It was published in 2008. And if you buy her new book, it will, oh, it's supposed to move around. Oh, there it is. It will do this. So especially if you read it on acid, which I don't recommend if you've ever tried that, but there it is. It's a really cool book. It's a great graphic, and Rebecca's going to be reading from it right now, and then we'll have a chance to talk to her. So take it away, Rebecca.
Well, good to see you all. It's so nice to have a group of people to read to and to be in a Zoom that's not a group of high schoolers. So I'm really excited about this. Yeah, I will be reading from my new book, The Trouble with Language. Looks like this. I'm very excited about it. It's somewhere it's coming soon. Any day now, I think it should be out. And it's a really kind of a strange collection because it's got about 30 stories in it. And they run the gamut from being real short to kind of longer traditional. And they kind of flow between super weird to only slightly weird, I would say. So yeah, it's just 10 years of my writing life in a book. So I'm excited. I'm just going to read a couple stories, one very short story and then one slightly less short story. So I hope you enjoy them both. The first one is called Mistaken About the Whole Thing. For a moment, I truly believed that the war had come home. People ran from the streets, missiles directed and released by an invisible enemy exploded whole city blocks, trees disintegrated, angels beyond the clouds finally sang for us. Families, friends, and total strangers clung to each other with no concern for body odors, bank accounts. Bankers held garbage men. Travel agents held architects. Children climbed into the arms of murderers, and I clung to you. You weren't even there, but we were so close I couldn't tell whose hair was whose. If you are here, I hope I would forgive you for starting the war. I hope I would admit that it wasn't all your fault. Together, we could start some kind of peace. We could fashion a pair of wings out of old curtains and medical dressings. I could repeat the word gauze into your ear until it had no meaning. If all went well, we would take turns, sewing the wings to our shoulder blades, taking off and coming back, taking off again. Today, I see I was mistaken about the whole thing. There is no war here. Only my one shoe is missing. I had spent so many days taking it off and putting it back on. I don't know what I'll do now. So that's a very short story. And the next one will be slightly longer and maybe slightly weirder. So this is called Jailbreak. The husband and the wife are in prison. The prison is warm and dark like the inside of an animal. The prison guard is a little sick girl who will probably die in a matter of weeks. Already the girl is bedridden. She hardly speaks, but she has complained of terrible headaches. She does not eat, but has kindly decided to give her food to the husband and wife. Because she is too weak to carry the food herself, she ties plates to the dogs' backs, and the dogs wander down the halls to deliver the meals. The husband and wife need the food, but they are afraid of the dogs because the dogs may carry disease, in the form of lice or ticks, perhaps the same disease that has afflicted the prison guard. Sometimes the girl's cries and moans tear through the prison, and the prisoners wish these were the cries and moans of ghosts, not of a little girl. Ghosts cannot die, and the husband and wife are afraid of death. Until now, because the little girl brought food instead of death, they had loved her. Sometimes the wife believes the girl suffers from something with psychological origins, like anorexia. Plenty of little girls suffer from anorexia when they are chronically unhappy, and the little prison guard has so much to be unhappy about. But the husband would wager, if he had any money, that the girl has been infected by Lyme disease. The husband and wife do not discuss why they are in prison. Sometimes when the wife feels like discussing it, she takes off her shirt, stuffs it in her mouth, and bites down hard. The husband misinterprets her nudity and gag as sexual advances. He walks to the wife, hugs her, and runs his hands down her back and kisses her. When the husband feels like talking to the wife about why they are in prison, he distracts himself by thinking about sex. He thinks about sex until his wife takes off her shirt and shoves it in her mouth. The husband and wife have no daughter of their own, and it would not be accurate to say they think of the prison guard as their daughter, but they do wonder about the origins of the prison guard. Who are her parents? Why did she end up here serving prisoners? What really are the differences between a prisoner and a prison guard? There are other activities the husband and wife do instead of talking about why they are in prison. Wife does a little dance in the corner of the cell involving small foot stomps, bites her fingernails and tries to pluck the hairs between her eyebrows, but both the hairs and the nails are too short. Checks for lumps in her breasts, uses dust to make drawings on the floors and walls, practices yoga, tries to imagine what God looks like. Husband closes his eyes and envisions various breakfast foods, thinks about the sentences his wife says, and then repeats them backwards, tries to fix his posture by standing up against the wall, attempts to climb the stone walls, writes songs and plays them on air guitar, tries to make himself laugh, and then tries to make himself cry. Both the husband and wife are getting very thin and frail. The food in the prison tastes like bland paste. The wife runs her hands along the ridges of her ribs and imagines she is a washboard. She thinks of fresh, soapy water. The husband has bad posture, and his thinness accentuates this. His body is beginning to look like an S. It's a miracle. The little girl is up and walking. She stops at the bars in front of the wife and husband's cell. "Hi," she says. "We thought you might be dead." "Not quite," says the little girl. She looks at the floor and runs her hand along the rough metal bar. "But I'm getting pretty close, and it looks like you are too." "Can't help it," says the husband. "Can you?" "I don't know," says the little girl. "I don't think so." "Can you please bring the keys?" the wife asks the girl. "It's not like we were supposed to die here. That wasn't the plan." The little girl frowns. She doesn't remember the plan. "When I was a little girl," the wife begins a short story, "I used to prefer to be by myself. In preschool, when we played outside, I wanted to sit alone and let dragonflies land on my fingers. There was a patch of wildflowers that always seemed to be full of dragonflies. I liked to climb a tree near that patch. I wanted to go up and up. Someone took my picture while I was standing in the tree. I was wearing a party dress and looked happy. I would show you the picture if I had it." "Listen," the husband says, "do you have the keys or what?" The little girl looks down. "Are they in your pocket?" the husband asks. The little girl looks up, then back down. "They're in her pocket," the husband says. The husband lunges at the girl so fast that the wife falls over. He thrusts his arms through the bars and grabs the shoulders of the little girl. He pulls the little girl hard, and her shoulders and her forehead knock against the bars with a heavy thunk. He shakes the girl back and forth with great force. Her head goes thunk, thunk, thunk on the bars, and then her body is limp as a rag doll. The wife says no. She closes her eyes and covers her ears and goes into the corner in a little ball and rocks. She hears the dogs run to the girl and start barking, but they are just medium-sized shaggy mutts and can't do anything except bark. The wife has a vague feeling that this is madness, but another vague feeling that this is salvation. The husband goes blind and deaf and strong as he smashes the girl's head into the bar. He sees a trickle of blood form on the girl's face. The girl's eyes are closed and her jaw slackens, but he won't stop because he needs to be humane and sure she is absolutely dead. He doesn't want her to suffer. He may have meant to ease the girl down gently onto the floor, but he lets her go and lets her body drop. Can you get the keys? The wife asks, still in a little ball, still not looking. The husband says, damn. And yes. The wife hears the keys jangle and opens her eyes. She does not yet look at the husband or the girl. She just looks at the wall. That was really bad, she says. Damn it, the husband says. Both the husband and the wife had imagined breaking out of the prison many times. Each time their escape had been sweet and joyous, like a field of wildflowers brushing against a gently windblown sky. They imagined their escape would feel something like meeting their newborn child or discovering God. Thank you. That's all I got for you.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. And we got some questions for you. And I want to start off that obviously, like I check up on my guests. So you had mentioned in another interview that you used to be really, really nervous before you would do readings and think about and perseverate for a week or so about it. Is that still, you still feel that way now? Is it easier doing them virtually?
Yeah, I mean, I still get nervous, but I definitely feel more, I see the value in them more, and so that makes it a little less scary. Like, it's become a little bit more fun to me to do them. I'm kind of shy, but I don't know. There's something nice about hearing someone tell a story, and I try to internalize that and kind of flip it and give that to other people. So it can be a lot of fun.
All right, now tell me a little bit about your style. I guess John would like to know whom did you study with and who do you read and to produce what you produce?
Well, I read a lot, and I read a lot of very diverse things, I would say. Um, some of the stuff I read is on the more like surreal side. Like I really like Clarice Lispector and been getting into, Sarah Rose Edder's The Book of X came out recently, and that's kind of stuff that I tend to like really enjoy. But I don't know. I read like across the board. I don't know. When I was in grad school, I studied with George Saunders, and I think that a lot of his kind of writing style was definitely influential when I was younger. And yeah, I don't know. I just kind of try to get my hands on whatever I can. And
Well, George Saunders wrote a very nice blurb for your new book.
he did. Yeah. Yeah. That was really nice of him.
Now, you mentioned that this is a strange collection, and it's strange in two ways, that the lengths of the stories range from flash fiction to full length. Was that something that you made a conscious decision to do, or?
No. Well, I think that so a lot of the length of the stories kind of has to do with how much time I had when I was writing. There was a period where I just felt like these little kind of flash fiction, almost prose poetry at sometimes, were what I was just able to produce in the time that I had. And I like getting to the end of things. So that's what was coming out. Some of the longer stories in the book are from when I was in grad school, not all of them, but some of them. And there was more time to like sit with it, and more, even I think probably more expectation that you would be writing longer. But so I wasn't, for a while, I wasn't even sure they would really all hang together in a collection, but reading through them and seeing them together, it was just so clear to me that they definitely belong in the same, between, the same covers of the same book. So
Is it easier to go weird on a flash fiction piece or on a longer piece?
I want to say it's probably easier to go weird on Flash, though I could be wrong about that. There's a really weird long story in here about a guy who gets a severed head, and yeah, it's like kind of like a lucky charm for him, the severed head, and that story is super weird, and it's weird like in terms of plot and content, but it's also weird in terms of form too. Like there's some parts of that story that are in play script format and parts of it that are a little bit written in like broken lines, like poetry almost. So I took a workshop recently, like a one night thing with Sarah Rose Eder, and she was talking about this question, how to write what she wrote in a long form. And she felt that she really had to do it in like these really small chunks in order to keep the weirdness and keep it, in novel length, which I thought was interesting.
But not everything in your book, The Trouble with Language, is that way. You have some stories that have like gritty realism, correct?
Yeah, there are some stories that are a little less in the vein of fabulism or surrealism, and kind of get into other sorts of issues like addiction issues and just like being young and stupid.
Does anyone just not get it? I mean, sometimes when you go out there with a story and you stay true to it, sometimes people just don't get it. Has anyone ever mentioned that to you or said anything about it? Or
um, I mean, I'm sure plenty of people wouldn't get what I write, but I guess so. I went to Lisbon for the Disquiet literary program in Lisbon. It was like a two week program, and one of the actually the one of the stories in here, Timothy Severed Head, I workshopped during that, and I could tell that the person leading the workshop just was like not into it, and that's like just what it is, right? Like some people want to read what you write, and it won't be everyone's cup of tea.
now, do
Um,
you ever write things that you love but don't think that you can publish them because of this reason, or anything that you've rejected that just went too far?
that's a good question. I mean, I definitely write stuff that I don't think would get published, but I was kind of surprised to find like when I started publishing that the weird little stories was writing were actually getting a lot more attention than the more traditional type of work that I was doing. So I was actually kind of encouraged to get weird as I was writing based on like early publications. Um,
Now, along with that, like the book features stuff that you wrote 10 years ago. Were you allowed to, did you feel comfortable revising them? Did you think they still feel they were good? Because I know us writers, we pick everything apart, just given enough time. Um, do you feel really strongly about that or?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so when I say I wrote 10 years ago, I mean like maybe the first or second drafts were written 10 years ago, but they've been worked on since then. And um, I've gotten a lot better at editing in general and like learning how to turn a story into something that's stronger. So I remember like one of the stories that's in here, I think the original version of it was maybe twice as long and in a different point of view and had all these other characters. And I was like, well, no one wants this story. I've been like chopping it around. And then was just like, I'm just going to gut it. And I chopped it in half and all of a sudden like it got attention. So I don't often give up on stories that I really care about, but I'm willing to do a lot of work on them if needed.
There's a question in here that says, in the second story, for example, do your stories have underlining meaning for you, or are you sort of just following your muse?
Yeah, I think that for the most part, well, that story. So the second one probably just started with an image or like the first line, the husband and wife are in prison, and thinking that and just feeling like I could do something like with that. And I think that story in particular was pretty flowy as I wrote it. I don't remember thinking like consciously about what different elements in it represent. But like even earlier today, when I was trying to pick out what I would read and thinking about that story, and it was I was like analyzing it as I was reading it in ways that I didn't intend to write it. So yeah, usually, I mean, sometimes when I'm most intentional, I feel like the stories are more in the realism vein, or also more intentional on the level of language rather than the level of plot or something like that. Like bringing back some elements, or like using language recursively in some way, or something like that.
Now, when you, it sounds to me that you, your stuff is very much comes from you internally, but do you ever think about the reader? And if you do think about the reader, actually, this kind of sounds like a really shitty question. Do you ever write for your readers? And if you do so, well, what do you try to do just to keep them interested?
I mean, I write for readers. I would say that, yeah. I mean, not first. I write for me, and then probably I edit for readers. Is how I would put it. Um, I don't really know what readers want, I guess. I just get a sense of what I think works well, or there are what I've written that I'm confident about and what I'm not confident about, and I just kind of trust that. I don't know, and hope that there will be someone out there that would like it. If not, like, that's cool too. But
Speaking of someone out there liking it, on this call is your publisher, Albin Fishow from Transfer Books. Now, you win the Holland Prize through Transfer Books. You submit something, and Albin and his crew love it. What happens next? What's it like working with them?
it's been super fun working with Alvin. Yeah, so there was a couple of rounds of editing, and going through light edits, and thinking about order a little bit, and just making sure that it was all as strong as it can be, and then just like watching Alvin create these amazing designs and do what he like work his magic in terms of turning it into an actual artifact, and a beautiful artifact. It was just has been so much fun to see. He's an amazing designer, and I'm just like so happy with the way that the book looks, and like these little details that he puts in.
Albin, would you like to do a rebuttal at all?
No. Um, the book is amazing. I loved it right away, and so it makes my job a lot easier and a lot more inspiring, and it helps to uh, come up with a design that I think will grab people's attention.
What was, Albin, really quickly, what was the story that just really caught you in being like, okay, this is it, this is the one?
I really liked. I'm going to blank on the title. Um, an exercise in etiquette, I think. Is it? That was the one that I really, really liked a lot. And another one that I really liked, Rebecca actually thought that maybe she should cut it. And that was, is that Visiting Sarah?
Yeah,
I really like that one too.
yeah.
So the funny thing is those aren't really the weirder stories, you know? But yeah.
And yeah, and like one of the late drafting process, I read one of the stories and I was like, I don't know. I don't know if this one, like, I'm not feeling it right now. And then Alvin was like, really? That's like one of my favorites. And then my husband read it and he was like, this story's great. Like, you're crazy. So I think it's interesting how your relationship to your own writing can change like so much, right? And like, even after Alvin and my husband said that, I reread it again and I was like, okay, I guess I see it. I don't know.
So my question is, there was that one story, was that the greatest conflict that you had? I know there's always a give and take sometimes when you're producing a book with an editor or with a publisher. What was the biggest conflict? If that one was it, you're allowed to pass at any questions, but we'll come back to you.
I don't think there was very much conflict. There was some discussion about how the book should end, and we found a solution to that pretty fast. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think there was very much conflict actually.
So we have a request if you could read the first paragraph of this one of the stories that Albin mentioned.
Okay.
And while
Okay.
you find it, I'll kill time. I'll sing a little song for you.
What do you think, Alvin? Visiting Sarah or exercise and etiquette?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I like them both. So.
Okay. I'll just, whichever one I flip to first, I guess.
Maybe Albin can recite the first paragraph from memory, if that's possible.
I should have had it open. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. I have a terrible memory. Oh, I wanted to say too that the book ships tomorrow. We had a delay with our printer due to COVID and probably the holiday as well, but it ships finally tomorrow. So it'll start going into people's hands and they can see what an amazing book this is.
You know, I'll arrive right before the holidays too. So definitely pick it up and pick it up at your favorite indie bookstore for sure.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, I found one of the stories. So I'll read the first page of Visiting Sarah, 2005. You meet me at the San Diego airport. I am transit tired, unwashed. I smell my sweat mixing with the thick hibiscus air. You pull up in your pimped out Ultima, its rims shiny, windows tinted opaque, as though you are trying to lure people into caring about who's inside. You step out of the car and onto the curb. Skin tight jeans, sequins tank top, cheap hoop earrings, fake nails, and unnaturally tanned skin, the curls pressed out of your hair. You are done up like a tinsel Christmas tree. It's been 2 years since I last saw you, before you enlisted in the Marines and I enrolled in the university I can't afford. Yo, you say, and I say yo. Already I am parroting your detached tone. Already I'm lying. Sup, you say. Not much. Sup with you. That's the beginning of that one.
Thanks, Rebecca. Are you working on a novel or have you started a novel at any point? And if you can you think you can retain the weird in 300 and so pages?
I think that's one of the things that has stopped me from really pursuing a novel in the way that I want to. I mean, I think that it can be done, maybe. I just don't know how. And I want to write a novel, and I've been thinking about writing a novel for a while, and I'm not sure it's going to be as weird as these stories. I don't know.
And the last question I'd like to ask was, have you ever had anyone illustrate any of your stories? Would that be something that would interest you?
Yeah, that would be cool for sure. I would love to see. I'm somewhat of a visual artist myself, and I think that like seeing some kind of visual representation of my work would be awesome.
What about you producing the illustrations?
Yeah, potentially. I've never tried that, but I'm like, and it's kind of an awe on people that do that figure out a way to make their two art forms work, like whether it be graphic novel or just illustrations to go with their writing. I've never tried it with my own work, but I think it would be fun.
Well, that was really, really awesome to have you here, Rebecca. And let me show folks at home the book again. Oh, actually, this is the playlist that Alvin and Rebecca put together on Spotify for the book. So when you're reading along, there's some great tunes on here. So check that out. And there's Rebecca's website. You can always find her there. And also the book, the screen share is blocking me from going into the webpage where I need to be, which is awesome. So the book is actually, there it is, right on there. So I'll just cheat. It looks just like that, The Trouble with Language, Rebecca Fishow. It can be ordered at your favorite indie bookstore, and it can be ordered before the holidays. So thank you very, very much. And thank Alvin for being there and everybody. I'm now going to shut off the Facebook feed. If anyone on the Facebook feed that's watching that ever wants to be in on the question and answer or the open mic, just go onto the Zoom instead of the feed. And I'm going to get rid of you all now. So bye, Facebook.